Hello, actors. My friends told me years ago when Ian McKellen hosted SNL, he didn't want to talk to anyone but the actors, and he was constantly going, "Where are the actors? I need to talk to the actors right now, please."
Speaking of actors, talk about a role. Like after I went through all 10 episodes for the first time of the studio, and I'm looking back and I'm watching, and I just think, like, when it came to Sal Saperstein, your performance so owned this character. It made me think of like Julia Louis-Dreyfus on Veep, like an actor so perfectly embodied with a character.
I was gonna say Cooter Davenport from the Dukes of Hazzard. I was like, thank you, Scott.
But
that's crazy.
that
JLD.
was my second. That was my
thank you,
one.
thank you.
But how did this come about in terms of the way you were going to shoot the show?
Seth had reached out to me years ago and was like, "I'm doing a show about Hollywood, and I'm going to write a part for you. Would you do it?" And I said, "Let me think about it." I know. I said, "Yes, of course." Are you kidding me? And I had worked with Seth and Evan a bunch, and so I was kept abreast of kind of what was happening, and I would get these feverish texts from Seth. We got Scorsese, which I wrote back, "Fuck you," and he wrote, "Fuck you." So we kept. I kept hearing, pieces of what was going on, and then I talked to him, a month or two before they started shooting, and he was like, "Hey, this oneer, we're going to do this episode where it's a oneer, but it's all a oneer." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds impossible." Excuse me, but I think that they took that idea, and then in the following, weeks and months, they were like, "Wait, let's just make the whole show like that. Let's give the show this kind of kinetic feel where it just feels like you are in there with them, going along for the ride." And they didn't really, they didn't really test it. They were just like, "Let's just try it and we'll shoot it and see what happens." And so that first day, we were shooting scenes from the war, and it worked. And Seth was like, "It's gonna work. It's gonna work. It's gonna work." So it was very exhilarating.
And the scene that you shot with Chase, Sue Wonders here, that was one of the first scenes that you shot?
It was the first scene of the series.
Oh,
and
my God.
they did a pretty good job. You guys know on shows, a lot of times they crossboard, and you'll at like 8 a.m. shoot a scene from like episode 6, and then by like 3 p.m. you're like shooting a scene from episode 2. They were pretty good at trying to keep us relatively within blocks. Yeah, but the first scene, I think they wanted a scene that Seth wasn't in so he could watch it. So, and just based on location and availability, that was the scene. And it's I met this actress, Chase. I'd never met her before. I was like, "Hey, nice to meet you. Oh, you're from Detroit. Oh, I'm Chicago. Fuck the Lions." And then like 30 minutes later, like I'm in her face. I'm like, "You are a loser. You suck." And she's like crying, and so it's just acting is weird. Like it's just so weird. But yeah, we jumped into that right away, and I'm glad we did because it really, I think, kind of defined our relationship.
I mean, when you're shooting every single scene as a oneer, especially like a whole episode as a oneer, it's not just like remembering your lines, thinking about your performance, staying on your toes. Like there's got to be a lot of choreography that goes with that too, right?
Oh yeah, and I always said that an actor, the people you work with the most on a show or a movie is hair and makeup, because they're literally like touching your eyeballs. But the camera department they're right there, man. Your camera op is sometimes millimeters from your face, and there's this kind of an unspoken rule where you kind of try to work in conjunction with them. But conventional shows, it's kind of like, okay, here's the coverage and here's the coverage. This has so much movement that there are scenes where like literally like our B camera assist is under a table and the camera raises and films Seth, and the table opens, and this man climbs out of a table. They close the table, so when the camera turns back around, the table's back to where it was. So that takes a lot of choreography and a lot of just kind of patience and trust with your camera department.
Also,
and we had one of the greatest camera departments I'd ever worked with.
Also, a lot of discipline. Because a lot of times, actors are like, they're doing a scene or scenes, and they don't even know that the camera is there. But when the camera is so fluid, it's hard not to notice. Hey, the camera's right there.
No, it's right there. You're very aware, but because of the nature of the way we shot it, like typical coverage, you shoot your side of it, and then you go, and then they're turning around, and you go to Crafty and talk about the Dodgers and check your phone. You come back and you do some more, and then they're going to drop back on the wide. This is every take is like a play. So even though you are maybe interacting and seeing more of the camera crew, you're more tuned in as an actor because it's just you don't know when you're going to be on camera when you're not. So that's another thing. You got to really kind of stay on your toes.
You got to stay on your toes also because you don't know what your cast is going to pull off.
Oh yes.
So how did, what was it, 12 seasons of MADtv? 12 seasons.
12 seasons.
Also 8 seasons with Mindy.
Yeah. Six, but one of them was a double, so we'll call it 7. Yes, yes. 120 episodes.
How did that prepare you for the studio?
Oh wow. Well, I kind of think everything we do in our careers prepares us for the next gig. Good ones, bad ones, long ones, short ones. You always walk away from a gig taking something away. For those gigs where it was many multi-year gigs, I think a big part of it is trusting your fellow performers, trusting your crew, and getting into a rhythm with them is a big thing I learned. On MADtv, I wrote on MADtv, so I did learn how kind of rudimentary TV writing and blocking and all that stuff works. And then for Mindy, I got to write on Mindy, so that really helped me kind of learn how to big picture things. But I think I learned from every gig I've ever had.
Sure. And also just, the work you've done with Seth in the past, the Neighbors movies and so on, that's got to give you like a comfort level to take bigger swings because you're working with someone who you guys get each other.
Yeah, we're both avuncular Jewish guys who like weed and comedy, like it's, and we had done Neighbors together. They produced Blockers, and we had done just little small things. He was on the Mindy Project. We did Eastbound and Down, done the same episode. And there's just, I think, a trust there. And I think too, we're comfortable, and that manifests a lot in touching. Like Seth and I touch each other a lot, and we're very comfortable. Like I can kind of kiss his character on the head, or there's a scene in I think it's the episode The War, where I'm desperately trying to get him to give like 5 minutes of FaceTime to Parker Finn, right, who directed Smile and Smile 2, and Seth is like, no, I'm going to go meet Chris Hemsworth for Martini. Yeah. And I'm like, no. And I'm kind of really pulling him. And Seth shoves me as hard as he possibly can. And I think if it was another actor who he hasn't worked with for a long time, that moment wouldn't have been as funny, just because he has the permission to shove me. You can see in the show, like, I'm like, whoa. So
gotta go back and watch it.
Yeah. So, but it's a comfortability thing.
So when it came to your approach to Sal Saperstein, like with all of your experience in this business, all the people you've worked with, all the executives you've worked with, was any of Sal's character based on personal experience?
All of it. All of it. I've been lucky enough to work for a while in this business, and I've known a lot of executives, and some very bad, some fantastic. Most of them, I will say, are like good to great to trying to be good. There's a lot of jive turkeys in there, don't get me wrong. But even the good ones, you steal moments and elements from them. So yeah, there was a lot of folks over the years that I've kind of taken little moments and little pieces of inspiration and kind of woven this thing.
The second episode, we talked about the oneer. Like when I was watching it for the first time, I'm like watching it going like they're still going. Like they're still going. Oh my God, they're going to do the whole thing as a oneer. How much prep, how much rehearsal did you have to do, especially day of, so you can get it just right at that magic hour?
So that episode in particular was pretty crazy because the house that we shot at is a famous house. It's called Silvertop. It's John Lautner. He's a famous, architect, and it's this famous house you've seen in other stuff. And that for some reason, I think they couldn't scout it. That was part of it. So they kind of, I think, planned that they would shoot some of it during magic hour to get that light, but then there would be scenes that they could shoot kind of obscured. And then they got there and they're like, oh shit, this is 360 degrees of windows. There's no place to hide. So, what ended up happening is we would show up at like 9 a.m. and we would rehearse for like 7 hours. Just all day, rehearse, and every time you're changing something, you're tweaking something, camera says, can I go around this table this way? Katherine Han or Sarah Polly's like, what, can I do this instead? So you're tweaking as you go, but it's hours and hours and hours of rehearsing. And then starting at about right around 4 till about 5:47, we would just get as many takes as we can get. And it's exhilarating. One day we didn't get it. And it was kind of him running out and getting hit by the coffee and getting in the car. And there was just so many elements. You got a camera operator with a rig on, and he's running to try to he's trying to dismount the camera and then hook it to the magnet on the car while Seth is, and it's just, there's so many elements. And I remember driving. It's a lot like the show where it's like we're driving away and Seth's like, do you think we could do another one? I'm looking at just pitch black out. I'm like, I don't think so. It would, but then we came back the next day and we got it. And it was very exhilarating when we finished that week because it was probably the most intense week we had.
With all of the oneers that you do, with the way, I mean, look, you could have just like shot a show about Hollywood and just done a show about Hollywood. But with the ambition of all these oneers is why people are going like, holy shit, this show is freaking fantastic. And every time I see an episode, that was the best one. And then I get to the Golden Globes episode.
It's so funny.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Ike,
crazy.
That episode was fantastic. Tell us about making that episode.
That was crazy. I mean, when he first pitched me the episode, I was like, are you my mom? Like, why are you being this nice to me? This is such a great gift. We shot it at the Beverly Hilton where they have the Globes, and these guys created the Globes. Like, I remember showing up, and I was like, oh, my God. It's exactly like the Golden Globe. There's just pressed line and everything. Shooting it was really crazy, too, because you didn't know who was going to show up because we're shooting during the week where a lot of shows are in production. A lot of people we want to cast on the show are doing things. So production changes. Someone drops out that morning. So sometimes you didn't know who was going to be. I remember specifically like showing up and I get to my mark and they start rehearsing and I'm like checking in. I look up. I'm like, oh my God, Gene Smart's here. It was so cool. And then I was just great too. We had, Adam Scott, Quinta, so just friends were there, Statsky and Paul and Lucia. So Rami was there. So it was just a really, really very, very fun week. We were shooting late at night, so we were getting kind of loopy in a good way. David Krumholtz was there, who was so goddamn funny. But very, very, very special episode. And nothing brings me more joy than when I'm at an airport and I'm like washing my hands and the guy's like, "Thank you, Seth Rogen." That is like the greatest thing in the world. So I love it.
Okay, like, what is your take on just how that "Thank you, Sal Saperstein" became a phenomenon? It became like memes on social media. You know, it became a thing.
I created all those memes. I pay a meme farm in Bulgaria to generate them. No, it really was just absolutely adorable, and it really just tickled me every time someone says it. And a bunch of our crew cleaned up at the Creative Arts Emmys. Julie Berghoff and Eric Kissack, and they all got up there and they were like, "Thank you, Sal Saperstein." And if those limeys from Adolescence wouldn't have won, we would have had actors who would have done it because they didn't know. No, but yeah, it's a wonderful, adorable thing that it's very ticklish.
But this show is so challenging. I'm watching it, and just because of my own experience in the business and everything, I'm watching going like, this was a really hard show to produce. So how did, even with all your experience working with Seth, working on all the other shows, how did that push you in ways that you've never been pushed or tested before?
There's something wonderful about going onto a show where you're just an actor. Like the show Running Point I produce, and that's a lot of work. That because you're there and it's all your decisions, and you're the showrunner. What do you need, dude? And then you get home and there's more emails, and you wake up and there's emails and there's cuts. So when you go to a show, there's this wonderful feeling where you're just an actor. You're just there to support the creators. What do you guys need me to do? And so I just kind of went into it with that mindset of just like, I clearly see Seth and Evan's vision for the show. I clearly understood it, and my job was just to support them in whatever way I can. Have no ego about it. Like there are times where like we're rehearsing a scene and there'll be a line that I'm like, oh, that's such a good line. Ooh, that line is gonna kill. I'm gonna deliver that line very well. It's gonna kill. And then like in rehearsal, Seth's like, oh yeah, don't say that. I'm like, yeah, cool, yeah. I was thinking the same thing actually.
Very
Yeah. Well, yeah, so when you have creators who have such a clear vision, who also happen to be like nice, funny people. It's a joy.
Whether it's this show or past shows or films, before you get to the performance stage, before you're thinking about your approach and, especially when you get to the set and everything, and maybe you do a rehearsal run through, you still have to remember your lines. Yeah. So how do you remember your lines? Do you have a trick, something that helps you remember your lines?
I don't have a trick. I just run them a lot. I will say that like I haven't had to do a ton. Like I would not do well with like Sorkin shit. Like if I had to walk in and deliver a 2-page monologue and I can't change a comma, like I that's gonna be difficult. I'm gonna have to figure out a system. I'll have to do Pedro Pascal's weird ass thing where he writes the letters on top of the letters or something. But a lot of the stuff, especially in the studio, is incredibly conversational. I don't know about you guys. It's much easier for me to learn lines that are conversational back and forth than like long, big chunks. So yeah, if I ever do King Lear, I'm screwed.
Was there a scene, whether it's from the war or any one of the other 9 episodes, where one of your coworkers, one of your castmates, surprised you, and in a moment you went, "Oh shit, what do I do?"
Every time Katherine Han spoke, no idea what the hell she's gonna say. She improvised the line when in the pilot when they're talking about Jonestown.
Oh
the Kool-Aid movie, and Marty wants to cast Steve Buscemi. She says Steve Buscemi is the worst case scenario. And like, I literally, when she did that, I went, my brain couldn't process. And neither could her. She went, oh. But she is a real live wire, and I don't know what happens in her brain before the words come out of her mouth, but something radical happens, and so she's definitely the person who makes everyone break the most and just is the most off the wall, and you just don't know what you're going to get, and it's constantly a shock.
Is there a scene from any one of the 10, maybe not including the oneer, because I mean that was just such an ambitious thing, that you're really, really proud of?
Well, in terms of, I mean, I loved in the episode, the casting episode, where we're trying to cast the Kool-Aid movie and we're trying to be like racially sensitive. We shot all of us in that office with the board for like a day straight, so I kind of consider that like one long scene, and that was the one where we were just like laughing the hardest at, and just like that was crazy. But in terms of proud, I was very, very happy the way the show, this finale was, with all of us on stage in Vegas, because Vegas was a fever dream. Guys, we shot for 2 weeks in Vegas. It was insane. I gambled every day. I drank every day. It was not healthy. But like they were really trying to figure out like how to end it. Like, how does it end? Yeah. And there were a lot of things they were trying to crack, and they figured this out, I think, a little bit later. And I remember being on stage and having this moment of like realizing like, oh, these guys really landed the plane, because they managed to do 10 episodes where it seems like all of these people are just like pit vipers who want to just tell each other they're stupid, and all they talk about is the business. But in this moment, it's like, you guys are my friends. A lot of times the people who are our friends are just our coworkers. And that really, I was very proud to be working with these guys who I thought really just figured out a beautiful kind of way to end it. And then, of course, you have Bryan Cranston like
yeah.
and like a dickie.
But listen, it's not just that you have this long-standing relationship with Seth and Evan. But what makes Seth and Evan and the rest of your EPs and showrunners, like great actors, producers? Like, what makes them great to work with to bring out the best in their performances?
You mean with like Seth and like what makes? Well, Seth is an amazing. He is the perfect example, I think, of someone who's like a multi-hyphen, and Mindy Kaling too, because they can be in the moment and very, very, very deep in it with you as an actor, but they're watching the whole time, and they're thinking like, is this right? And is this what we really want? And Seth especially too, you can tell like he won't waste your time. Where if he knows something, if he knows this take is not going to be the take they're going to use, even if you're a minute and a half into it, he's just going to like go and just like shake his head, and then, which I really appreciate. I really love that he doesn't make us do a take that he knows he's not going to use. He's very smart about that. And I don't know. I love working with creators who are also actors, because it removes. I always hated like when writers shit on actors. You know what I mean? When they're like, oh, they're not doing it right. They're not doing this line right. And it's like, they're doing it better than you could do it in 1,000 lifetimes. And so I love when I get to work with creators or showrunners who are actors, because they're one of us. They respect like what we do. They know what we do. They know how fucking hard it is what we do. They know that you can't just change something like that all the time, and it takes a minute to metabolize and note and stuff. So it is really I'm very fortunate to work with those folks.
Yeah, I mean, look, Seth, especially since I guess Knocked Up, 2007, that was really like a real breakthrough movie for him. But the way he has proved himself as an actor, as a producer, as a director, as a writer. I mean, I still say The Interview is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
That movie did not get right. You know what I mean? Like it got treated very badly because of the whole thing.
Of the whole thing.
You know, because it almost started a war. That whole thing. But I remember watching a cut of that movie and like crying, laughing at it.
And he, Long Shot with Charlotte.
Loved Long Shot. It's funny because there was when I was growing up, like the shows that I watched, I didn't really think that there were people like that. Now that I look back, there were actors who were also writers, but I didn't think about it as much as kind of when I started seeing people like Seth, Mindy Kaling, BJ Novak, Danny McBride, who were kind of like, oh yeah, no, I can write this myself and act in it myself, and I can sit in a writer's room, I can sit in a holding pen, you know what I mean? So I drew a lot of inspiration from those guys.
And I gotta say, in the studio, Chase Sue Wonders.
Oh my God.
So
great.
I just saw Bodies at South by Southwest. I'm like, I definitely noticed her, but I mean, she's like right there with you guys, in this, and Katherine Han, and it's
Catherine O'Hara too. That was a wild one. Oh my God, people lose their minds when they see Catherine O'Hara. Let me tell you, because first of all, you think she's your mom because of Home Alone. But like walking around Vegas with these people is insane. Like I remember, so we were shooting in the Palazzo, right, which is like part of the Venetian. And every morning we go to call, and the salon in the hotel was like our hair and makeup room. And so I would go, and I take like 15 minutes in the chair. I'm just naturally this fucking gorgeous. No, I'm just a freak, and I look like a freak, so it's a very quick process for me. So I would have like 45 minutes. There's a blackjack table right there. So I'm like gonna go down and play blackjack, and I would play, every morning, and it was the same dealer. I talked to this dealer, and one morning Cranston walks past, and he's like, oh, you up or you down? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm breaking even. I'll see you on set. And he walks away. And the dealer goes, is that Bryan Cranston? I go, yeah. He goes, have you ever seen Your Honor? I go, yeah. He goes, it's the best show I've ever seen. I go, yeah, it's great. And Breaking Bad, he goes, never seen it. And I was like, wow.
What have people said to you? I mean, you talked about like the guy washing his hands back in South Africa.
Yes.
But how has being a part of the studio kind of changed the game for you?
I mean, I've done a lot of things, some good, some not so good. I don't know what the math is, what the special thing is, but 99% of the time when people have approached me throughout the years, it's always just the nicest people. It's the nicest people, and they're always so nice. And this is just a show that I think it's a really great show, and people really like it. And it's obviously folks in this room and in this town, I think maybe like it a little bit more because it's about us, but I love when people who have no attachment to like, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's married to this guy who I've only talked to a few times. I don't think he likes me, but she's like, just so you know, he literally only watches Ohio State basketball and football. That is the only thing that goes on our TV. Watches the studio. And that, to me, you're like, oh my God, that's great. Why? Why is he watching it? That's crazy. But it's wonderful. I was abroad this summer, and people in Italy are like, I love the shows out of Aberdeen. Buono. So it is just, I think, it just kind of hit a nerve with people, and it's beautiful. It's fun to look at. There's fun people in it, and it's just a good one.
We take questions here from members of the SAG Foundation. So, Negan. Hi, Negan. Question is, for actors building momentum, what should we be doing, first and foremost, that we might be overlooking? Like, what should we be doing that we might not be doing?
It's a great question. I always fall back on. I didn't go to acting school, but I went through the Chicago improv circuit, and this is a couple decades ago. But I do find that improv training is an incredible tool for us to have as actors. And, you still do have some great places out here. Like, I still know people who are teaching at UCB. There's a couple other places. That is a place, or that is a thing I always tell people. It's fun. You always meet like fun people who want to like make shit. And the what it puts in your toolbox is it helps you on set when someone throws a line at you and you don't just go, and also gives you the confidence to throw a line at them, and then all of a sudden the director's like, that was funny, do that again. I also find that improv training, specifically long form improv training, where you're doing kind of longer scenes with 2 to 3 people, I think that's great tools for writing. Like, I swear to God, guys, I learned how to write scenes. It's not about coming up with ideas for a story. It's more about like how to write a scene. Like, every scene needs a game, right? Like, what is the game of this scene? We know what it's about, but what's interesting about it? What is the rhythm of it? And I think that really I learned that from doing improv. So the fast answer is get involved with improv if you can. And also, I always tell people, like, we are living in a world now where like filmmaking is more democratized than it's ever been. So I always do tell people, like, if you have an idea for something, just shoot it. Just do it. Like, get a friend to shoot it. Ask a friend who knows how to edit things, or learn how to edit yourself. It's like, we have to look at people like Sean Baker is kind of like our new kind of leaders, I think. The people who are just like, just do it. Like, he made Tangerine with an iPhone on Santa Monica and Citrus. It's like, we can do this. It just takes the confidence to do it, and it takes a group. It takes a couple people. You got to find your people.
Sean Baker, who won 4 Oscars for Aurora. So that's a very, very good role model for this. Last question here is from Amy. What have you encountered in your professional career that proves that life is stranger than fiction?
What have I encountered in my career? Oh my God, that life is stranger. There's so many things. I mean, there's like, there's moments where you're so glad that you have done things that people have seen. I was at the DMV one time, and I was looking at like a 4+ hour wait. And the woman behind the counter, she had just come back from break and opened up and saw me and went, and she goes, I love MADtv. And I was like, now that's a good one. Last year, the year before, I went to England with my family around the holidays. My wife's family lives in England, and we went there. And I don't know if you've ever been to England on Christmas. It's great. It's beautiful. And there's a tradition there where you wake up on Christmas Day and you take your roast and you put it in the oven, and then you go to a pub or two, because they're all alcoholics. And we got there, and this is 2 years ago, and it was the first time we had been traveling Europe a little bit, and it was the first time where people had kind of noticed me a little bit, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And so we're at this pub, and we're standing outside, and it's beautiful, and cold Christmas Day, and I'm there with my wife and her entire fucking family. And there's this lady, and she's kind of just looking at me, holding her phone, giving me the, this look. And I kind of turned to her, I was like, do you want to get a picture? She's like, yes, please. And I go, what's your name? And she's like, it's Sue. And I'm like, how are you, Sue? And I grab her phone, and I'm kind of like, are you guys having a good Christmas? She's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, well, here, let's take a fun one, you know, doing selfies. And I go, thank you, Sue. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. And she goes, thank you. Sorry, do you mind taking a photo of me and my sisters? And no clue. And and my wife sees the whole thing, and my wife is like, and like runs over to her whole family and is like, you're not gonna believe it. She thought, and she had no fucking clue who he was. So it's moments like that I live for, where it is so crazy, where acting gets you to a place where people know you or they don't.
And with that, I say thank you, Ike Barinholtz.
Wow, perfect ending.